Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Monday. It's August 3rd. We're starting a new month. July is now behind us. It's been really interesting uh, trading lately. We started off today. It looked like it was just going to be mostly a trading range, and then we had this big sell-off right here, and then we kind of went back into another range, and we ended up rallying back a little bit. In the end, we closed slightly down, closed in this 290 and a quarter, and we closed Friday 298 or something. So we closed down by the end of the day, and I would have really this was from here down. This was all a downtrend, and we had a downward bias until we started rallying until after 2 o'clock basically. But early on, I treated this like a range. You can see prices swinging both sides of the EMA. Generally, you can trade both ways on days like that, so you'll notice there's longs and shorts in here. Once the downward bias came, you notice it's mostly only shorts. There's a few greens over here I'll talk about, and I didn't mark anything after 2 o'clock. So, um, but yeah, for the most part, it was all range up until about 11 o'clock, and then it was a downward bias into the 2 o'clock hour after that. So, but you can see this right here. This is real iffy. Um, Everything's within the high and low of the overnight. It's real tight. You can see how flat the EMA is. Prices swinging back and forth. Well, you know that's a sure sign that hey, this is really a trading range. The first trade I saw that really all of this was just kind of iffy. There's a channel working up here off the lows. This is a range, and you got a trend line and a channel working up. This was the first break. So at that point, you could take a second entry long. Notice that new high, pull back first entry, pull back second entry. And you're looking for a retest of this high and probably a retest of the overnight highs. And so I like that for a long, quick, easy move for a scalp, but then it turns back down again. But you can't go short right there. You could treat that almost like a failed break out of this high, but by the time it turns down again that quick, then you kind of know it's a range day. But notice what happens. We got the break of this channel, two legs, a second entry long, and a new high, and then it sails off. You can't take that first entry though, but when it comes back and touches that trend line again, working down, that confirms it. It's a nice bearish bar. You might use a limit order here, but you could just use a stop if you wanted. Um, you got to be a little bit concerned about these matching lows. So for that reason, you might use a limit order. But on a second entry short, a confirmed trend line, and a big bearish bar like that, if you like, you might just want to use a stop and hope for the best. And of course, it does. It just takes off, and then you get a little breakout pull back short. But notice what happens here. You got a new high, pull back first entry, pull back. There's a failed second entry long there. So you could have gone short right there, but if you didn't, once you saw this big bar, you could go short there. And so it's really two entries there, two different ways you could do it. But I really like this setup. Because it's a trap, you could go short there. You don't have to have a perfect signal bar. And this turns out to be a really nice trade. And it drops on down. It goes right through the support. And then, of course, it bounces. But notice what I did here. You got this channel working down. You got a break. You got a new low. You got a huge overshoot down here. You got a first entry pullback and then a second entry. You're way away from the EMA on what looks like a range, and you got two legs down. There's a lot of things going on here. Notice that leg. If you measure that, you pretty much already got your two legs down. You don't quite have a measured leg, but we're so far away from the EMA that you're probably not going to get. You end up getting it, but it's way over here. Um, and you can see we actually went a few ticks further than that. But I like this for a failed break lower, um, a snap back to the EMA, a pull back to the trend line, an overshoot of this. This is really a midline in the end. It should be a little lighter line. Um, so it's a little bit aggressive going long right there, but on a range day, if most failed breaks are going to snap back and at least test the low and probably test the EMA or the trend line, and that's what happened. So there's a lot of room. So an aggressive trader, somebody that really understands price action, they're going to try to ride that back. And notice you got a trend line working up now. Pull back, you got a first entry, you pull back, that's your first break. You get a second entry long right here. But I'm going to tell you, you're looking for a retest of this low. And so it's a little risky going long on that first break of this trend line. It's a huge bar. It's not a good signal bar. There's just a lot of reasons. There is a failed second entry short. You know, I'm more apt to think about going short here really than long. But you don't want to go short right there yet either. You want a little something more to know that this moves over, that we're probably going to have a retest of this high. So that's the reason you really don't want to go. Even though the bigger pattern could be taking precedence, you still got this trend line and there's no retest yet, and you don't get that till here. And now you got a double top, turns down. I'm okay going short right there. This one's real close to being green because, but it's a double top. You're looking for a retest of the low. There's just several different. You got a fairly bearish bar here. There's several reasons to so this one's real close. I went ahead and made it red, but it could easily be green. And then you get that little failed break higher and a big bearish bar. That's the one you really want to take. And if you're already in here, I would add on here. And or if you've already scalped out, you get another chance to enter. I'd re-enter here. And figuring you're going to test the low, and of course it keeps on going. It goes a little lower. But this was a really good move. And then you get your measured move over here, and it tries to bounce. This doesn't really look like a reversal pattern until you get the failed second entry short here. Look at, if it would have broke below, okay, had a slight interruption, but we were talking about this trade, I believe. This is a failed second entry short. Reverses, goes up the other side. We already had the break, the new low. It's a range day too. This is a failed break below the low of the range. A lot of reasons to like going long. It doesn't, you know, normally you want to see some push through that EMA earlier than that, but there's enough reasons to want to go long because this is just a range day at this point. This is going to be a failed break lower, and so I like that trap. And then you get a second entry long here. Notice the new high, pull back first entry, pull back second entry. It's a second entry long. You do get a little bit of a break out of the trend line right there. At first I thought maybe the trend line's down here, but I believe it to be right here off these first few swings. Sometimes when you get a break this early, you can ignore it. And so you really get a little bit of a break here, but you get another one right here and you get that push to a new high. So you still get the signal you need. I think you don't want to go short. I mean, I think it's too late to go long up in here, but I like this one. There's enough room back to the midline, and if we keep going, you got a lot of room to work with. But you could consider this possibly a break, definitely a break here. This is tempting to go short, but I think you're better off to wait and see if you get a better setup, and you do. It tries to go higher again. Look at that big bearish bar. It went right out the top and then turned and goes out the bottom. When you see that, that's generally a trap. I like going short right below this bar, just having your stop in there, sell stop for when this turns down. But if not, you could still go short right here. But I don't know if you'd have got filled on that one. You might have, maybe not. Then you get your failed second entry long right here, so another chance to enter. And this really confirmed the trend line. There's almost an entry here. You really needed to use, because this is not a good signal bar, you really could have gone short there. So there's really two trades here. I think you're better off to wait on that true break higher, but this confirmed the trend line. So you really could have entered here and added on here, or waited and entered here. Either way, it's tempting to enter here, but it's right into that support, so I think you got to wait. And you really just never get another opportunity to enter this thing. By the time you get down here, it's too risky. You finally get a double top here and another turn down off of this. But again, it's a little risky because you don't have much room before you get to that double bottom. There's a chance it ticks a tick or two lower and bounces, but it is right off that trend line. It is a second entry short. It's not a great signal bar, but nothing has been able to close or really hardly even penetrate that trend line very much since it's moved down. So there's reasons to consider entering there. So I did give it a green one. But you should have been in up here and ridden, and you could have ridden these all the way down. That's what's so nice about them. But anyway, you get a new low right here. You definitely don't want to be entering anything here. But notice what happens. New low, first entry, pullback, second entry. And this is just a repeat pattern of this right here. It worked the first time. It's probably going to work this time. You had to kind of ride it out, but it does work. And then you come up here and you make this double top. But you got your break here and a couple of legs up to a new high. So there's reasons to consider entering here. Plus it's that double top right there. I did mark it in green. Because it's a little bit aggressive, but there's some reasons to consider entering there. There's a trap right here, a failed second entry long, but look how close it is to those lows, and it would have worked. Actually, it wouldn't have worked if because you probably would have come back here and got stopped out, and you don't want to enter there. So I didn't mark anything there, even though there's a trap. The reasons why I didn't mark it is because you're so close to this strong support, and it's just not, and now we're swinging back and forth above the EMA again. So this is like starting to look like a trading range. I don't think you can go long yet, but when we make this lower double, just slightly lower double top here, I like to go in short on that one. There's really a trend line that kind of works right up through here. Um, But the problem is you find the resistance up here in this double top. It's really a double test of this level. So I almost made this one green, but I like it. Sorry, somebody calling trying to sell me something. But anyway, I like this for short. It's a little doji. It's right off the top of what looks like a range now. Look how flat the EMA is. Double top, double test of this. We're probably going to the low side again, and that's what happens. And so I like this one to short. It's real. It's a little bit aggressive because we don't have a clear close and a new high yet. But a lot of times on the range you won't get that. And but I still like the setup because it was a low risk, small bar, low risk. It is a range, and the EMA is so flat now. We're probably going to come back down to the other side, and so I left that one red. So good many trades today. Hopefully you saw the range early on because you really needed that. Notice there's a lot more shorts than there are longs, but that's because there's a two-tiered channel working lower in this range, and we really had a downward bias until here, and of course then you got. It's more of a neutral bias, I guess, but it's slanted to the downside because of this two-tiered channel working lower, and you can see that it played out both ways. So you only had to see one of them really to play this thing, but it helps when you see the bigger picture because you got a more downward bias until you get this break and the new low, and then it kind of goes neutral again, and then it picks up downward again right here. So good trading day. Good many trades today. There's a few aggressive ones in there too. But I hope you had a good trading day today. Not much else I can say about today. It always helps on these range days if you draw these shorter term trend lines and just follow the rules. That's the simplest way to do it. And you can see there's a short term here, a break, a new high. Short term here, close outside, a new low. Short term here, a break, a new high. We didn't quite get a new high, but we tested it enough. That was good enough. And there's actually, I didn't have it on here, but notice that little channel working down, the break, new low, we reverse, break, new high, we reverse, we're coming down. We tried twice to make a new low, and really you could have considered going long here because we made a double attempt to go lower of this level here and reversed. But it's a first entry, and there's still a little bit of a downward bias. It's right at the 2 o'clock hour, so I didn't mark it. But most of your stuff played out really well today. So your shorter term ones, and it helps keep you on the right side. So stay with those. But anyway, that's enough for today. I'm going to wrap it up. I hope you had a good trading day. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. and we'll see you next time.